If you want to improve your singles game, then you have to learn the right strategy so you don't run aimlessly on the badminton court. You can move with purpose, place your shots properly, defend yourself well, and win that game. Hi, I'm Coach Kennie Asuncion and welcome to Badminton ABCs, where I teach you how to level up your game and all things badminton. So do hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. Singles games are very demanding physically because you have to run on court all by yourself. So without the right strategy, you might just be returning your shots aimlessly. So I will be giving you some tips in order for you to perform better, to play well, and to take that winning shot. So today I'm going to teach you about singles strategy. So let's pretend these are the two players. This is you, the orange shuttle. So you normally start the serve slightly closer to the service line. Okay, some people serve with their forehand serve, some people will serve with their backhand serve, but normally the position is here. Here. Okay, when I say normally, it means it depends on the player. Some players would do their serve a little behind, meaning in the middle of the court, or sometimes they even go close to the service line. So it really depends on what you're trying to cover. It also depends on what serve you're giving. Now, when you serve to your opponent, normally the opponent would stand here in the middle. Others would stand slightly closer to the front. Okay? Now, when they stand slightly closer to the front, you know they've acknowledged that shots in the front are faster because they know that when you serve to the back and it's a high serve, they have the time to slowly move back and still get it in time. Okay, our goal for singles is to maximize the four corners. Having your opponent receive the serve going back to the middle, these are the 4 points that you really use to the max. Okay, so from the service, when you move your opponent, whether it's here, they're already on one side of the court. You have 3 spots that are open. So you may use those 3 spots. You can either lob, you can drop, you can smash, you can put a shot here in front as well. So again, what I'm teaching is will always be dependent on the type of opponent you have. Okay, if your opponent is a bit shorter, okay, then all the more you have to keep maximizing all 4 corners of the court. Because then, if you are taller, then you should be slightly faster in terms of the steps. If you have a tall opponent, normally, I'd say normally, but it's not for all because there are exceptions. There's always an exception to the rule. If you have a taller opponent, you may hit body shots or focus more on the drops because the lunges are more difficult for them because they're longer. So it's either good drops or good body shots because if you're long, it's harder for you to bend the arms. Okay? But again, it's a case-to-case basis. Some of these players have already worked on their weaknesses and maybe some of them have already worked so hard for it that it has become their strength now. Okay? So what's important is always getting your opponent out of the base so you have an open spot to attack. Okay. Now, with regards to players who run really fast, a good strategy would be to put it back on the same spot. For example, you move your opponent here to the back and you always see them rushing, moving in so quickly. Put another shot on the same spot. They're running so quick, they have to move back again. Running so quick, moving back. And what does that do? You try to, finish their energy because they're too fast in running back. So again, even when you are running, you yourself are running, you also have to put timing into it. Do not run back in too fast. Although ideally we want to go back to the base, still there's timing to everything, and you have to know where you've placed your shots. Okay, so when you do a lift to your opponent, if you lift on this side, you can go one step, and I say one step leaning towards the straight line. Why? Because if they smash straight, it will be much faster. If you anticipate here with slightly moving to this direction, but your opponent smashes to this side, you have that travel time wherein you can still move and take that shot. Okay, so it's all about where you put your shots and what to wait for. Now, when you are running towards the middle, the front, if you are putting shots in front, do not hurry to move back because shots in front are much faster. So if you put a nice counter, don't immediately move back, because if they put another straight counter, you will still be there. Okay, but these are basic. Once again, it depends on your opponent. Like what I've explained earlier, when you lift, you kind of wait for the straight attacks because they're much faster. But if your opponent loves to attack cross court, then why wait on the straight line, right? Then you go one step, wait for the cross court. Again, strategies would depend on different opponents. That's why the coaches that sit at the back are very, very important, because they analyze your game and they remind you what to watch out for. Okay, so when you are having a hard time, let's say with the net shots and shots particularly here in front, I suggest you go slightly forward. Of course, not too much on the service line, because then you will leave the whole back open. Okay, so everything is, in moderation with analytical thinking, but it's also important that you are able to hear your coach. Okay, I say to the players, and all my players, that you have to shut off all the noise around you when you are playing inside the court, but you only hear one voice, maybe one or two if you have two coaches there at the back. You only hear the voice of the coach. You know with their look what they are telling you. Like for instance, sometimes the coach will tell you your lifts are short. If your lifts are short, that means it's in this area. Smashes will be stronger, drops will come back faster. So really the goal is to move them here, move them to the back. Okay. Now, accuracy plays a very important role. You have to be accurate. You may place your shots well here to the corner, next one to the next corner, but if in like 5 or 6 shots you make your own errors, then it's pointless running your opponent on those 4 courts. So there are so many things to work on for the badminton singles game. Make sure that you can run around, the court. I put emphasis on all the footworks that I've taught you in previous videos. That's because you want to lessen your movement as much as you can, right? You don't want to use up all your energy, because in singles, you will use a lot of energy since you yourself will be running around the court. Okay? So again, different types of opponents, different types of strategies. But the basic for a single strategy is to get your opponents out of the middle onto the 4 corners, acknowledging during the game, acknowledging your strong points, their weak points, trying to get as much points as you can on their weak point. But once they start covering it, for example, you find out that your opponent has a hard time hitting their backhand. So that's your target. You give it to the backhand. So maybe you've earned 3-4 points, but the coach at the back would tell tell your opponent, hey, guard your backhand because your opponent is giving it there to you. So your opponent starts guarding the backhand and is able to return the shot. What do? Be patient. That weak spot will still be their weak spot. It's just that they are able to return it because they're already waiting for it. So what should you do? You have to move them around first. When you get them out of the middle, like in this area or maybe here or there, then you attack back all the way to the backhand once again. Okay, so that's one strategy that you can do. Okay, but for me, as long as you get your points, go ahead and keep getting and keep doing what you do. Now, if it's the other way around and you are missing a lot of shots, for example, on your forehand front side, what do? You have to anticipate it. You have to know that that's what your opponent will be doing to you. That they will try to get as much points from you from where they've already gotten points. So even if they try to move you around in different spots, always watch out for the weak spot. Okay, because they will return it back there. So we will use Bianca Carlos's and Mika de Guzman's game to demonstrate more strategies. So as they play their match, you will notice that they are trying their best to move each other. Smashing down the line is one great strategy. Okay, so dropping, a quick drop will also be a good strategy when your opponent has been running around. Make sure to use it in a deceiving manner. Once the shuttle is high and short, that's what usually happens. It will be a strong smash down.
And match 254, ready, stand by.
Drops are good even if it's one after the other, but not on the same side. When you are trying to outrun each other, you have to use your eyes to look at where there is an opening. So any chance you get, you have to do your best to attack. In between breaks, remember to take deep breaths. Deep breathing doesn't necessarily mean that you're tired or that you're out of breath. Sometimes it only makes you re-energize or refocus yourselves. From the serve, you get your opponent out of the middle so that you can execute your shots better. Find an opening, attack when you can. Straight smashes, as I've mentioned earlier, will always be faster as opposed to a cross smash. Do take note to be very careful when serving and receiving. As much as possible, no errors for service and receiving. Sometimes it's actually good to attack on the forehand side, so you have to check your opponent. It doesn't necessarily mean that the backhand is always weaker. In fact, for defense, sometimes backhand is, an easier shot to return because of the swing, the smooth movement of the swing, as opposed to getting a forehand defense, which is sometimes slightly awkward to hit back. Do your best to deceive your opponents by pretending to put your shot somewhere and then hit it somewhere else. Although, what you have to watch out for is not to hit it to the net or hit an out.
There's serve. 2, play. 1, love.
Make sure to keep running and moving and not stopping until the rally is over. Do your best to lessen unforced errors. Patiently move your opponents to 4 corners of the court as much as you can.
Play. There's over. 2, 1.
Do you prefer singles or doubles? Let me know on the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, level up your game, and be the next smashing success.